The bright spotlight shone directly on my face, but it did not obscure the happiness and pride that sparkled in my eyes. The applause echoed throughout the luxurious auditorium of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel like a symphony honoring the tireless efforts. I, Aurora Hayes, founder and CEO of Auratech Solutions, a pioneering technology company in the field of applying artificial intelligence to medicine, have just been honored with the Disruptive Entrepreneur of the Year award. Holding the heavy crystal trophy in my hand, a symbol of recognition, I felt all the sweat, tears, and scars of the past seem to disappear. After the ceremony, as I chatted happily and toasted with important business partners and close friends, a hauntingly familiar figure slowly approached. A woman with a fake smile lavishly made up and in an expensive evening gown tried to push her way through the crowd. It was Vivian Hayes, my stepmother. "Aurora, my dear." Her voice was so sweet, it was creepy, deliberately attracting the attention of those around her. "Oh, my daughter, you are the pride of the family. I knew you would do great. Your father and I are so proud of you." She opened her arms wide, intending to hug me. Vivian. That smile, that voice had been a horror, a persistent nightmare that haunted me throughout my dark childhood years. The pride of the family. How ironic. This pride, this very daughter, had been treated by her like an invisible shadow, an unpaid servant in her own house. She had been neglected, criticized, and physically and mentally abused without any mercy. And my father, Robert Hayes, the man I had loved and respected so much, where was he at that time? He just stood there helpless or deliberately ignored, letting his own daughter sink into pain and humiliation. My memory takes me back to the small house in the suburbs of Denver, Colorado, where my childhood should have been filled with laughter and love. But it wasn't. My biological mother, a gentle woman with a smile as warm as the morning sun, suddenly passed away from a serious illness when I was 6 years old. The world of an innocent child suddenly collapsed, leaving only loss and boundless emptiness. My father, Robert Hayes, a gentle, quiet mechanical engineer, was also in pain. But his pain did not last long. Less than a year after my mother passed away, my father brought home another woman and introduced her as his new wife, my stepmother, Vivian. Vivian was quite young at that time, only a few years older than my father, with a beautiful, charming appearance, long golden hair, and blue eyes that always sparkled like the whole sky. She spoke softly, had gentle gestures, and was skillful in winning the hearts of my father and those around her. But hidden behind that perfect appearance, which a sensitive child like me soon realized, was a cold heart, a cruel selfishness, and a bottomless desire for vanity. I don't know if she truly loved my father or just saw him as a stable husband, a ladder for her to have a more comfortable life without having to work too hard. Soon after Vivian officially became the new mistress of the house, my life began to sink into a series of dark days. Vivian had a son named Ethan, 2 years older than me, a boy who had been spoiled since childhood, accustomed to being arrogant and looking down on others. Vivian openly favored Ethan in a blatant way. All the best things in the house were reserved for Ethan: expensive new clothes, modern toys, the best food. As for me, Aurora suddenly became the extra person, a thorn in her side. I had to wear Ethan's old worn-out clothes even though I was a girl used broken toys that Ethan had grown tired of, and my meals were often just leftovers after the whole family had finished eating. Not only that, Vivian also turned me into an unpaid maid in her own house. Since I was 7 or 8 years old, I had to do all the heavy housework that was not appropriate for my age, sweeping the house, wiping down furniture, washing dishes for the whole family, doing the laundry, including Vivian and Ethan's underwear, even cooking simple meals when Vivian was busy socializing with friends or going shopping. Meanwhile, Ethan just played around, watched TV, or left a mess for me to clean up. If I did not please her or was late, I would receive harsh criticism, scolding, even pinching my ears, and painful pushes when my father was not home. Useless, freeloader. Those were the phrases I heard most often from Vivian's mouth. She compared me to Ethan all the time, deliberately putting me down, making me feel terrible, hateful. Why can't you be a little like my Ethan? He's smart and quick while you're slow and clumsy like a turtle. At those times, I could only bow my head in silence, tears welling up in my eyes. I sought protection from my father but my father, Robert Hayes, the man I once considered my whole world, disappointed me deeply. Either because he loved and trusted his beautiful, well-behaved new wife too much, or because he was afraid of the fierceness and fear hidden behind Vivian's gentle appearance, he chose to ignore everything. Whenever I tried to tell my father about Vivian's unfair treatment, he would often brush it off saying, "You're still young, don't think nonsense," or "Vivian's mother only wants the best for you, you have to be obedient." There were even times when, in order to maintain family harmony to please Vivian, he would join her in scolding me for mistakes that didn't exist. My father's silence, his passive complicity, was the fatal stab causing the deepest wound in my young soul. I felt abandoned, betrayed by the person I loved the most. I grew up in loneliness, lacking love, always feeling like a burden, an unwelcome person in my own home. My childhood had no fairy tales, no rosy dreams, only tears of resentment and invisible fear called stepmother. The years living under Vivian's rule were not only about daily unfair treatment, but also a series of small persistent incidents, baseless accusations, and intentionally hurtful situations, carving scars into my mind that never faded. Whenever something in the house broke, something went missing, or even when Ethan made a mistake, Vivian would find a way to blame me. It must have been Aurora who broke the vase. "Where did her eyes and nose go?" she yelled, even though I hadn't touched her. It's because Aurora didn't watch Ethan carefully that he fell and scraped his knee, "you irresponsible thing." She scolded even though Ethan had climbed a tree and fallen by himself. No matter how I explained it, was useless. My words had no weight, no one believed me. Vivian was also a master at distorting the truth. She often spoke ill of me to the neighbors, to her friends, and even to the teachers at school. She painted an image of Aurora as stubborn, lazy, difficult to teach, and a liar to justify her harsh treatment and to gain sympathy and pity from others. Poor me, my sisters, this child is so difficult to manage. I have tried my best, but she still has the same old habits. She often lamented with a crooked smile. What hurt and angered me the most was probably Vivian's attempt to extinguish all my opportunities for development. I was a smart, studious child. At school, I always achieved high results. But every time I brought home a good report card, instead of being praised and encouraged, I received sarcasm and criticism from Vivian. "What's the use of studying well? Do you know how to cook and sweep the floor? You're a grown girl, but you don't know how to do housework? You just bury your head in books?" She was afraid that I was better than Ethan, afraid that I would have a better future than her beloved son. I remember one time when I was in 5th grade, I won first prize in a school-level painting competition. The prize was a new set of watercolors and a small scholarship to a weekend art class. I was so happy and proud that I rushed home to show it to my father and Vivian, hoping to receive a compliment. But in response to my excitement, Vivian coldly snatched the watercolors from my hands, saying, "Why waste money on painting and drawing? It's better to use that money to buy food for the whole family. As for that stupid art class, quit. Stay home and help with the housework." Then she gave the watercolors to Ethan, even though Ethan didn't like to paint. My father, as usual, stood there silent, not saying a word. My heart was broken. My small joy, my young pride was cruelly crushed. That night, I cried a lot, cried for my stolen dream, cried for injustice, and cried for my own helplessness. Another time when I was about 12 years old, I had a high fever. My body was burning like fire. I was exhausted, curled up on my rickety bed, waiting for some attention and care. But Vivian, after a quick glance, said bluntly, "What's there to be upset about? You must be pretending to avoid work again? Get up, there are still unwashed dishes." She didn't give me any medicine, didn't cook me a bowl of porridge, and even scolded me when I couldn't get up. Luckily, there was a kind neighbor who, seeing that I hadn't left the house for several days, came over to check on me and took me to the medical station. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened to me. Such events, countless, have gnawed at my soul, making me increasingly withdrawn, sullen, and losing faith in life and in people. As I said, my father Robert Hayes was a weak, cowardly, and somewhat selfish father. He chose to shirk responsibility, ignore his daughter's pain in exchange for a false peace in the family, so as not to have to face the cruelty of his new wife. Occasionally, I also caught a glimpse of guilt in his eyes, a glimpse of pity when seeing me being treated badly by Vivian. But those were just fleeting emotions, not strong enough for him to dare to stand up to protect me, to dare to speak up for justice. His silence to me was more frightening and hurtful than Vivian's scolding. As for Ethan, Vivian's son, my nominal older brother. Initially, when he was young, Ethan was just a spoiled child, selfish, and liked to bully the weak. He often followed his mother's lead, mocking and teasing me, even deliberately making a mess for me to clean up, then telling his mother if I didn't do as he wanted. When he grew up a little, when he began to have his own perceptions, Ethan probably also realized the injustice in the way his mother treated me. But his selfishness and fear of his mother's authority made him choose to stay silent or remain indifferent and disdainful of me. Ethan never spoke up to defend me, not even once. He only cared about himself, about what he enjoyed. To me, Ethan was also part of the nightmare called family. My high school years passed under Vivian's control and harsh treatment. But it was also during those years that the will to escape this hell on earth to build a new life for myself became stronger and stronger within me. I threw myself into studying, seeing it as the only way to change my fate. After graduating from high school with excellent grades, I knew that I could not continue living in that house for another day. Vivian had no intention of letting me go to college. She had a plan for me to go to work in a nearby factory or work as a maid for a wealthy family to help the family financially. In reality, she just wanted an additional source of income to serve her and Ethan's increasing spending needs. But fate did not turn its back on me completely. During those difficult years, there was someone who quietly recognized my efforts' potential and pitiful circumstances. That was Ms. Peterson, my high school literature teacher. Ms. Peterson was a kind, delicate, and generous woman. She often encouraged me, praised my emotional writing, and sometimes secretly slipped me some good books or some snacks. She knew that my family situation was not normal, although I never told her the details. When she learned that I intended to leave home to pursue my education, Ms. Peterson did not hesitate to help me. She took the time to learn about scholarship programs for students with difficult circumstances, but good academic performance helped me prepare my application and wrote enthusiastic letters of recommendation. She also secretly gave me a small amount of money, saying it was a gift to celebrate my early graduation so that I could have some initial expenses. Aurora, she took my hand, her eyes filled with affection. You are a strong and intelligent girl. Never give up on your dreams. The world out there is so big, fly away and find your own sky. Miss Peterson's words and support were like a cool breeze, igniting the fire of hope in me. With that encouragement, I made the most important decision of my life up to that point, leaving home, leaving the living hell called the Hayes family to seek a new future, a life that I had the right to control. I left early one morning when the whole family was still asleep. My luggage was just a small suitcase containing a few old clothes, a few books, the small amount of money that Miss Peterson gave me, and a heart full of scars, but also full of the desire for freedom. I did not say a formal goodbye to anyone, only left a short letter on the dining table written to my father. I am going to find my own life. Please do not look for me. I will take care of myself. Goodbye. Stepping out of that house, I never looked back. Ahead was an uncertain, challenging journey, but I knew that it was the only way for me to find myself, to find the light. The first days in a strange city with no relatives, no money after paying for the car and renting a shabby room were extremely difficult. But I did not give up. I won a partial scholarship to study information technology at a not-so-famous university. But that was all I could get at that time. To pay for my tuition rent and living expenses, I had to work multiple jobs at the same time. During the day, I went to school, and at night, I worked as a waiter in a cheap restaurant until late at night. On weekends, I tutored rich kids or worked part-time in the school lab. There were nights when I could only sleep for a few hours, exhausted and mentally stressed. My meals were usually dry bread or instant noodles. Loneliness, homesickness, even though it was a home without love and even haunting memories of the past, sometimes crept into my mind, making me want to cry. But then every time I felt weak, the image of Vivian with her contemptuous smile, the image of my father with his indifference appeared again, like a stimulant reminding me not to give up. I had to succeed to prove to them what this useless daughter could do. The memories of my bitter childhood, instead of drowning me, became an extraordinary motivation, a flame of hatred transformed into the will to rise up. I threw myself into my studies like a moth to a flame. I was fascinated by lines of code, complex algorithms, and the limitless potential of artificial intelligence. I studied day and night, read countless books and documents, joined technology clubs, and researched small projects on my own. My innate intelligence and extraordinary efforts helped me quickly become one of the best students in the department. During my university years, I was fortunate to meet a few teachers and good friends who saw my talent and determination and gave me valuable advice and help. In particular, in my final year of university, when I began to nurture my first startup ideas about applying artificial intelligence to the medical field, a field that I was extremely passionate about because it could save many people, perhaps partly because of the haunting memory of my biological mother's passing, I met Liam Chen. Liam was a few years older than me, a talented software engineer, a person with the same goals and vision. He was attracted to my breakthrough ideas and passion. We quickly became soulmates and then inseparable teammates on the path to entrepreneurship. After graduating with honors, Liam and I, along with a few other talented young people, decided to found Auratech Solutions. Our goal is to develop cutting-edge AI technology solutions to support early disease diagnosis, personalized treatment regimens, and optimize the drug discovery process. The early days of starting a business were extremely difficult. We lacked capital experience and human resources. Auratech's first office was just a small, hot attic. We had to work more than 10 hours a day, facing countless difficulties, challenges, and failures. There were times when we thought we would have to give up. But with my skillful leadership, sharp strategic vision, and the solidarity and determination of the entire team, Auratech Solutions has gradually overcome the most difficult stages. Our first products, despite many limitations, have begun to show great potential, attracting the attention of a few angel investors. Then, the first big contracts came. The company started to make a profit, expand, and attract more talent. Auratech's technology solutions were increasingly perfected, bringing real value to the medical industry, saving lives, and improving the quality of life for thousands of patients. And I, Aurora Hayes, the girl who was mistreated by her stepmother who struggled to survive, became the CEO of a billion-dollar technology unicorn, one of the youngest and most influential female entrepreneurs in the medical technology field. My name appeared in prestigious magazines. I was invited to speak at international conferences and was honored with prestigious awards. Liam Chen, from a teammate, became my life partner, my soulmate who always stood by me, supported me, and shared all my joys and sorrows. And now, at the height of my career, in the moment of my greatest glory, I was faced with the ghosts of my past. Vivian Hayes, the stepmother who had tried to crush all my dreams, stood before me all smiles and sweet fake words. Beside her was my father, Robert Hayes. His face strained, his eyes averted, and Ethan, the stepbrother who had never considered me a sister, now looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and surprise. "Oh, Aurora, my dear Vivian," repeated her voice, still trying to sound loving and affectionate, as if those bitter years had never happened. "You are the pride of the family. We are all so happy for you. Your father is here. He always talks about you, brags about you to everyone." She tried to pull my father closer as if to prove her point. My father just nodded mechanically. His smile crooked, not daring to look me straight in the eye. Ethan remained still, his expression unreadable. A wave of complex, intense emotions surged through my chest. Disgust at Vivian's clumsy performance, the dull pain from the scars of the past that seemed to have been dormant, contempt for my father's weakness and cowardice, and also a strength, a confidence of someone who had taken control of her own destiny. I was no longer the weak, vulnerable, tearful little Aurora. I was Aurora Hayes, a woman who had forged her character through storms. I gently but firmly removed Vivian's hand from my arm. My smile remained businesslike, but my eyes were cold and piercing as I stared straight at Vivian. The pride of the family, I asked again, my voice frighteningly calm, but with an unmistakable hint of sarcasm. "Really, Mrs. Hayes, I don't remember ever being considered a part of this family, let alone being the pride." I deliberately emphasized the word Mrs. Hayes, not calling her mother or aunt as she had hoped. Vivian's face turned slightly awkward, but she quickly regained her fake smile. "Oh, what are you saying, Aurora? After all, I'm the one who raised you." Raising, I interrupted, my voice calm but heavy. "Or was it abuse, Mrs. Hayes? My memories of your raising are the leftovers after the rest of the family had finished eating the cold winter nights without enough warm blankets Because the best blanket was reserved for Ethan, the times I was left to starve for being naughty. The pinching of the ears, the painful pushing when I was just a defenseless child. And most of all, the insults of uselessness, debt, useless, that I had to hear every day. Do you remember Mrs. Hayes? Every word I said was like a knife cutting into the perfect mask Vivian was trying to put on. Her smile froze her eyes, showing confusion and a little panic. The people around us, my business partners, my friends, started whispering, looking at us with curiosity and surprise. I turned to look at my father, who was still looking down, trying to be invisible. And Father, my voice was a little choked, but still full of disappointment. Are you really proud of me? Or are you just trying to play a different role? Like all these years you have ignored, watched your own daughter being treated like a shadow, a person in your own house. My father raised his head, his eyes filled with remorse and pain as he looked at me. He stammered, "Aurora, I'm sorry." Liam Chen, my life partner and business partner, who knew my past very well, gently walked over to stand beside me, placing his hand on my shoulder in a silent but powerful support. He looked at Vivian and Robert with a not-so-friendly gaze. Faced with my straightforward, unhesitant words witnessed by many guests, Vivian Hayes completely lost her initial confidence. She stammered, trying to defend herself. "Aurora, you misunderstood. Mom, I just want to be strict so you can become a good person." Become a man by being treated like an animal? "Mrs. Hayes," I asked, my voice unforgiving. Or be a man by having every opportunity to learn taken away, every dream crushed? Just because you were afraid I would be better than your precious son, Vivian was speechless. Her face turned red and pale, showing her shame and embarrassment. Robert Hayes lowered his head even more, his shoulders shaking. Ethan, after a moment of silent observation, also took a slight step back, as if wanting to separate himself from this awkward situation. The people around, after hearing part of the story, understood the problem. Their eyes looking at Vivian and Robert were no longer curious, but instead contempt and judgment. A few of my close partners approached, patting me on the shoulder as a word of encouragement. The greatest punishment for Vivian, perhaps, is not my words, but my brilliant success today. The wealth, fame, and recognition that I have achieved all are a painful slap in the face of her selfishness, short-sightedness, and cruelty. She once tried to drag me down into the mud, but I have risen stronger than ever, shining like a star. I know Vivian came to me today not because of pride, but for another purpose. Perhaps she wanted to rekindle the old love to benefit from my wealth, to brag to the world that she had a successful stepdaughter, but she was wrong. Mrs. Hayes, Mr. Hayes. I said, my voice calm again, but still maintaining a cool distance. I think this is enough for today's meeting. I have important guests to attend to. If you'll excuse me. I turned to Liam, smiling. Let's go. Liam and I walked away, leaving Vivian and Robert standing alone in the crowd with unfriendly eyes focused on them. It was humiliation, it was belated regret, it was the price they had to pay for what they had done in the past. About forgiveness. I forgave them a long time ago, not because they deserved it, but because of myself. I needed to let go of the resentments and bitterness of the past so that I could live a peaceful, happy life. But forgiveness does not mean forgetting, and it certainly does not mean that I will allow them to enter my life again to cause any more harm. The line has been drawn clear and decisive. I will not help them financially or anything else. They must take responsibility for their own lives. My father, he will probably live the rest of his life in torment and regret. Vivian, she will probably never understand that true wealth is not in money, but in love and kindness. The only pride I have, I thought to myself, is pride in myself, in not succumbing to adversity, in rising from the ashes, and in building the life I've always dreamed of, a life that has no room for lies and old hurts. Liam and I joined the crowd of people congratulating us, laughing and talking happily. Vivian and Robert's figures quickly disappeared into the distance, like faint images of a past that had receded into the past. The confrontation just now, although it caused some ripples in my heart, did not affect my joy and pride today. It only made me appreciate what I have even more. I look back on the journey I have taken, a journey full of hardships, but also full of determination. I no longer feel bitter or resentful. Instead, there is peace and freedom in my soul. I am grateful to Ms. Peterson, the teacher who gave me faith and wings to fly high. I am grateful to Liam, my life partner, who has always understood, loved, and supported me unconditionally. I am grateful to my friends and colleagues who have helped me overcome many difficulties. Now, I will continue to focus on my work on developing Auratech solutions, bringing the most advanced technologies to serve public health to create real values for society. I will spend more time with my small family with Liam, and maybe in the near future with our children who will grow up in love, respect, and a warm family environment, something that I was deprived of. They call me pride. But that belated and fake recognition no longer means anything to me. I have found true pride in myself and what I have worked hard to achieve with my own hands and mind. And that is all that matters, the real legacy I want to leave behind. When people who have caused you deep hurt in the past suddenly appear and praise your success, should you give them a chance to redeem, or is a straightforward rejection the best way to protect your boundaries and peace? Should Aurora completely cut ties with her father, who has been silent about her suffering, or should there be some tolerance since he is the one who gave birth to her? Share your thoughts on how Aurora deals with her past and her decision.